Good day, everyone, and welcome to the National Creative Writing 2026. I'm so excited, and I hope you are also excited and ready to write. So, this year, as you all know, we are going to be writing a short story. It's known as short story context. And so, we're going to be looking at what is a short story and what are the difference between a personal narrative and short story, and we're also going to be looking at the main ingredients and the different parts of a short story. So let's quickly look at what is a short story. So a short story is a made-up tale with a clear beginning, middle, and end. But it's different from a fable story. A fable story is a fiction story where we have animals talking, but in a short story, we don't have animals. So all your characters must be human beings. So please take note that your characters must be human and not animals. Now, it is a made-up story, but something we can relate with because it has to do with the things that happen around our society, but not necessarily something that has happened to you or anybody. It can be something you just brainstorm and you know that it can happen because you know you're writing about what activities about our society. So we also have key characters you need to know. The first one is the length. It's shorter than a novel. That means it focuses on one event. For example, we're talking about the lazy boy. So everything you are talking about is how the boy is lazy. So just one event. And usually somebody can just read it in one sitting, unlike a novel. Novel, you can talk about different things. But in short story, we're talking about one event and can be read in city. The focus, it zooms to one big event for a moment. Remember, the last time we talked about help finally came. That means at the end of the day, help came. Or you're talking about what was left is to be great. So everything you need to know is that it is talking about just one event. The lazy boy, the wise king, one event. Then it's usually advisable as a young author that you take few main characters that you can work with. By the time you use so many main characters, you find it very difficult. Difficult to express that character very well. But if you just stop with just one or two, it becomes very easy. So our objective in this lesson is that by the end of the class, you should be able to proudly write your own short story. So let's move on to the ingredients. Now, when we talk about the main ingredients, we're talking about the elements. But let me liken it to an ingredient. So ingredients. Now, for in baking, you have ingredients like flour, sugar, you have eggs. When you put them together through the process, you come out with a good cake. Same thing with writing a story. But here we call them elements. So we have the elements of a story. We have the setting, we have the characters, the plot, the conflict, and the theme. Now, if any is missing, then you find it very difficult to navigate your story very well. So you must ensure that these elements are in your story. Setting, the characters, the plot, the conflict, and the theme. I'm going to take them one after the other. Now, let's start with the setting. Now, while writing, your setting is very important. The setting is the place or the time where the story you're writing took place. So the place, sometimes you're writing about Yoruba culture or you're writing about the Igbo culture. Now, it has a way of affecting your characters. For example, if you're writing about the Yoruba culture, your characters will bear names like Tunde, Ade. If there's any name that is TBK, now please you are going to explain to us how that person is, why the person is bearing that name. Now it also affects the food they will eat because the Yoruba people, their main food is amala and ewedu. Then it also will affect their way of dressing. You have some of your ladies wearing iro and buba. So when you are describing, these are the things that should run through your mind when you are describing and focusing on your setting. It's also the time. Now, as we grow older, we let our learners know that it is not just about the place. Setting is not just about the place. It's also about the time in which your story took place. So it's happening before civilization. For example, we are writing a story that happened before the advent of the white men. You can tell the kind of dressing, or it happened a long time, maybe in the 60s. The way of dressing will be different from now. So you are going to talk about the bongo trousers, you're going to talk about them tying wrappers, you're going to talk about their bushy hair or their making hair. They're not going to wear wigs like what we have now. So the setting is very important when you are writing the story. It's also another ingredient or other element we have is your character. Now, remember I said in short stories, we don't have animals as characters. Our characters are human beings. But you have main characters, you also have secondary characters. So your main character, you must have a round knowledge of your main character. You explain, you describe them, you give us a mental image about your main character. And so I always teach my children, when you want to bring your character to life, you give your character a name, you describe your character, add feelings to your character must carry out action, and your character must say something, and something must be said about your character. Please, these are the things you need to know in building your characters. Now, we also have secondary characters, those like the villagers, the children in the school. Now, we don't necessarily need to know their names, and they add to them. They just build the background and help the main character. So these are the things you need to take into consideration. Then we go to the third element known as the plot. The plot is the sequence of events that when we put together, you form a clear picture of what you are writing about. For example, the lazy girl. When you put the different things that happen, when you put them together,